If I had to sum up today's entire video in a single word, it would be obsessed. At this point, you know, I know, we all know the definition of a parasocial relationship. It's what happens when fandom goes a little too far and you find yourself way too invested in the life of someone who doesn't know you exist. But the phenomenon we're looking at today goes even further than that, because this actor's fans are so obsessed with every detail of his personal life that not even his partner is safe from their unhinged conspiracy theories that she is draining his life force, robbing him of his youth, and effectively ending his career. Never mind the fact that they're completely divorced from reality because he's just starred in one of the biggest movies of the year. We are, of course, talking about none other than Timothee Chalamet, and the truly bizarre fan base that simultaneously seems to want to make Timothy great again, while also being his biggest haters for absolutely no reason. But first, welcome. My name is D'Angelo, and I am your professor of psychological fallacies, which is a very real degree that I definitely do have. Or maybe this is just me broadcasting myself talking in my room like YouTube used to be. And in today's lecture, I'm almost certain that this is the least sane group of fans I've ever encountered. There's a lot of stars out there with a reputation for having just the wildest fan bases, but I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. So if you're unfamiliar with Timothee Chalamet, all you really need to know is that he basically starred in like a reboot of one of the greatest, most iconic science fiction franchises of all time. Wonka! Just kidding. That's not, no. I mean, he did star in this movie, and I guess in some ways Willy Wonka is iconic, but is the Willy Wonka cinematic universe technically science fiction? Top 10 questions science can't answer. And you know, jokes aside, I don't think anybody really wanted that movie to happen, but it generated over $500 million in profit. You can say what you will about Timothy, and as you're gonna see, his fans are saying many things, none of which are good, but it's undeniable that the guy has some serious star power. Like, he did actually star in one of the most iconic sci-fi franchises. Dune Part 2 was huge, and when you're opposite Zendaya in one of the most anticipated films of the year, I would say Timothy's pretty much solidified himself as a leading man, which is not bad at age 28. Keep his age in mind, by the way. He is 28. That's kind of a big part of this whole puzzle. Now, I do have to point out that on its surface, this Timothee Chalamet situation may not seem very unique. Stars have found their own personal romantic relationships at the center of unnecessary discourse for, I guess, as long as there have been stars. Last year, Chris Evans got married, and I guess a small portion of his fan base launched this hate campaign against his wife, doing everything from leaving flyers around LA, begging people to hashtag cancel Alba Baptista, his wife, to writing an open letter that somehow made it all the way to The Guardian, in which they basically berate Chris because they don't like the way he revealed his relationship. As a 30-year-old, I've basically grown up on your work. You've been the most real and genuine person I've watched in Hollywood. See, already, way too parasocial. We do not know if Chris Evans is one of the most real or genuine people in Hollywood. I think he seems fairly chill, but I have only ever seen him in contexts in which he was either acting or it was his job to appear likable. That way he could promote the projects in which he was acting. This is why your fandom loves you and why we are so loyal. Up until now, I want this to be fake so badly. But the problem is, there are so many other examples of this happening, as you're going to see. Your fandom is not upset because you're in a relationship. Rather, it was the reveal of your relationship that made us feel betrayed by you. We feel betrayed by the Chris you led us to believe is you. Honestly, that's kind of deep. Disturbing. Yes, you didn't explicitly say you were single, but you sure did imply it. Realistically speaking, this should have no bearing on our lives as fans. However, if you could volunteer up lies about something so trivial, what about you is actually real? Your relationship is really not our business. But side note, an average 41-year-old man looking to settle down, start a family, and live a quiet life at home will probably not do so with a 25-year-old woman at the start of her career. It is just an indication how you've unfortunately contradicted yourself. Gotta love how they keep oscillating between this has nothing to do with us, but how dare you? It's not really our business, but you're a low-key weird as heck. Also, as for their age gap, I think any nuance about 25 and 41 gets lost when people are out here saying, congratulations to Chris Evans marrying his child bride, Alba Baptista. Objectively speaking, a 25-year-old is an adult, and this point very much seems thrown in there to just kind of support their larger argument, which is, even though I can't explicitly condemn you for entering a relationship, how dare you enter a relationship. Chris Evans, 41, has reportedly been dating Alba Baptista, 25, who still lives in Portugal with her mom and dad. It's really disgusting, in my opinion, the way they're trying to reduce this woman down to some helpless child when she is also an actress. Whether she lived with her parents or not is immaterial. She was in multiple Portuguese productions, and according to IMDb, her English-speaking debut was on Netflix in Warrior Nun. Her detractors are also constantly posting things like, daily reminder that Alba Baptista is a racist. And when people ask what did she do, there's never an answer. And in fact, when you look at the cancel Alba Baptista flyer, none of the tweets on here are hers. And I haven't seen any indication that she's actually interacted with these posts. People are just like, oh, that's her friend, and so you're racist too. And again, there is a conversation to be had about associating with racists. There's a conversation to be had about 16-year age gaps and why some men seem incapable of having anything to offer to women their age. But you're never going to convince me that those issues are what people are actually mad about in this context. It's concerned trolling. Anyway, that's the Chris Evans conundrum, which I wanted to use as an introduction to this Timothy problem. Just a little bit of a teaser before revealing something that is honestly 10 times worse. So Timothee Chalamet is in a relationship with Kylie Jenner and has been for a while. People were speculating about it early last year. They went public late last year, and honestly, I didn't care about any of it because I could not be less interested in the Jenners. I'm also typically not interested in celebrity relationships in general. I feel like they never last. Everyone acts surprised when they end, and then we just repeat the whole cycle. But alas, Timothy and Kylie have stuck together for over a year, so more power to them. But when they went public last year, they ran into a very familiar scenario. NBC News, a Timothee Chalamet fan account blasted Kylie Jenner, but even some fellow stans think the posts may have gone too far. Hey guys, I woke up an extra half hour to see if there were further developments overnight. And it does get worse. After months of gossip, media bombardment, speculations, stalking Timmy's private residence, and his obvious avoidance of her, it's finally paid off, and now Kylie Jenner's primary objective has been met. Timothy has now played her hand and relented. So the narrative that this person and somehow other people have is that Kylie Jenner is a stalker. She stalked Timothee Chalamet, and she basically made his life hell until he finally agreed to date her. And listen, I feel like even if you're not a Kylie Jenner fan, one would probably have to concede that she is in fact Kylie Jenner. She may be famous for questionable reasons, but she is famous. Like, what? Why would she need to? I don't understand this logic at all. Again, it's the scenario where you take somebody who has this power and you reduce them into something less than. That way you can frame the relationship that your fave is in as inherently bad. Based on all the direct messages I've received, fans are absolutely devastated and disappointed. Please take some time away from social media to tend to your mental health because that's very important to me. It's funny because this happened last year and I completely forgot how unhinged this was. The irony of telling people to take time away from social media now. I think time should have been taken away before it ever got to the point where you need to take time off social media because a star did something you didn't like. That something being entering a consensual relationship with another adult. That woman has now been redeemed in the eyes of her fans, investors, and the media. Whatever type of blackmail or threats she has on Timmy, she stayed the course because her reputation needed to be cleansed by someone like Timothee Chalamet. Not only did Kylie Jenner stalk him, but apparently she's also corrupting him. These are other users posting on Reddit. Did you see the new photos? I'm shocked. He's smoking inside. She's a terrible influence on him already. Smoking relieves stress. We have never seen Timothy smoke, but most of us were aware that he smokes. That's very telling. He was tolerating a famous stalker who made this happen after months of public stalking. People were also somehow taking it even further than that, making it about intimacy and things that have nothing to do with us whatsoever. I'm so sad and furious at the same time. For now, I'm empty. I hope he uses condoms. Trust me when I say he doesn't go that far with her. Just please trust me. How would you know? And why are you thinking about it, you know? And like, obviously, appreciating Timothee Chalamet or his work does not mean you are like this, which is why you have comments like this saying, the discourse and fan media reaction around this romance or friendship or whatever is deeply disturbing to me. The disrespect, vitriol, and misogyny directed towards Kylie is wrong. I'm a Timmy fan, but uncomfortable putting him on some sort of pedestal, thinking he's too good for her or she's beneath him. Maybe that makes me a bad fan? I'm just trying to be a good human? It makes you a normal human being. Don't worry. It makes you not this. This is a reply to the comment I just read. With all due respect, you are what I would refer to as a peripheral fan. Someone just on the sidelines taking a peek into what it is to be a fan of Timothee Chalamet. You don't know what you're even talking about because you really have not one clue as to what is really happening. But if it's comfortable sitting there on your high horse and pretending this is all fine, then you do you. Anyway, as you can see, that was a lot at the time, but I made the foolish mistake of thinking it was just a flash in the pan. I hadn't thought about any of this in the entire year since it's happened, and because I didn't hear anything else, I assumed maybe these people just stopped being they stopped following him, etc. But dear God, it has only gotten twice as bad recently, and you'll never guess why it all popped back up on my feed. Like, that's not an exaggeration. You'll literally never guess. The discourse popped back up because Timothee Chalamet cut his hair. Why fans are fighting over Timothee Chalamet's new look. So Timothee has been seen recently strolling around New York City wearing a baseball cap. He seems to have cut his signature wavy hair, presumably because he'll be starring in this new A24 film called Marty Supreme, in which he'll be playing a young version of ping pong player Marty Reisman, which I think is actually fairly decent casting. But for some reason, his fans were so thrown off that he would dare change his appearance that these extremely innocuous photos started this absurd discourse. And it got to the point where, like, the CEO of Unhinged Timothee Chalamet fans, aka the person who wrote that long Instagram post about how if you need to take time off, do so, even they had to come forward and call everyone else unhinged. I'm sick of people asking me what's wrong with Timmy. Is he depressed? Is he being a rebel? No, he's an actor who modifies his hair. And they kind of bring up a better point, which is that if Timothy has to look like this 24/7, aka if he has to look red carpet worthy, then you're not a real fan of his. Timothee Chalamet is more than his naturally wavy chestnut brown hair caressing his cheekbone. Okay, we're back into weird territory. But no, this is what I would describe as like a minor, completely insignificant, but very all-out fan war where you've got Timothy fans yelling at Timothy fans for either supporting him and his new haircut or not supporting him. And so I fell down way too far into the rabbit hole, and you'll never guess who is ultimately being blamed for Timothee Chalamet's change in appearance. Yes. Even a year later, they are still blaming Kylie Jenner for anything that Timothee does that they don't like. No, seriously? Let's talk about how he looks completely different before and after Kylie Jenner. What happened? That Kardashian Jenner voodoo finally hit him. Wow, he looks a mess. Kylie stole all his whimsy and collagen for the Kardashian fountain of youth. What happened to him? Ew, what the heck happened to him? And so now it's at the point where people are trying to prove that he's ugly now? Question mark? So this is him, I guess, some time ago. And this is the Timothy that people are now saying looks completely different. I would surely hope I don't have to point out the obvious here that these are two completely different environments, and lighting plays an enormous factor in how you would look. And also, he looks identical among these two photos. I am actually so lost when it comes to trying to parse meaning in these posts. I think snapping a photo of someone who is a couple years older and probably tired doesn't really prove anything other than the fact that you're gonna look slightly different as time goes on. But no, instead of considering that, the top comment on this post is, I bet it's drugs. He's an alcoholic now as well. I'd be one as well if I had to deal with that family. It's his girlfriend, Kylie. My brethren in Christ, it's a haircut. He cut his hair. I don't doubt that the Kardashians are probably an exceedingly strange family. I think that there's a lot that you could criticize them for sure. But maybe after 12 months, when you realize that none of your unnecessary input has seemed to affect their relationship at all, that might be a sign to dial back as opposed to ramping up the intensity of this conspiracy. This isn't the same man from 2022. Sad. He was so perfect. It's to the point where I actually started wondering if I needed my eyes checked. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, he has an entire new face is insane. Where is the new face? These people are posting photos that are like actively disproving what they're trying to prove. He was so handsome. He lost fans. He lost weight. He lost his charm. He lost his confidence. He lost his self-worth. He lost who he is. He needs to wake up. His fans are anti-fans, detractors. What would you call somebody in this scenario? Haters? His cyber stalkers have also tried to beat the it's just lighting allegations. Someone said pick 9 is probably different lighting, but yeah, my man looks tired. And they said it's not the lighting. Even in HD bright lights, he looks different now. He looks like crap. I can't stress this enough. No, he doesn't. I feel like that meme. Corporate needs you to find the difference between these two pictures. They're the same picture. He looks 50 now. He looks utterly utterly unremarkable now. His career is done for. You know, I wish my career was done for. If that meant I had been tapped to play Bob Dylan and Marty Reisman in upcoming movies, and I had also just starred in a Chanel ad while doing Dune and Wonka. Like, no, Timothee Chalamet doesn't star in 20 movies per year. But have you noticed that the movies he does star in are enormous usually, or critically acclaimed? Like, what do they mean his career is over? You can find glimpses of common sense on this sub, but they all get shot down immediately. Isn't he filming the ping pong movie? The guy has this haircut, but it's his face we're worried about. I also hate the way people are simultaneously obsessing about his weight while refusing to acknowledge that a change in weight can slightly affect your face. Poor kid is so thin, he's about to disappear. Did he borrow one of Kylie's Ozempic pin? Oh my God, even him being skinny is Kylie Jenner's fault. He looks rough in the face now. It makes him look 20 years older. Even when people on the subreddit are trying to, you know, actually be a fan of him, which is the point of the subreddit. Timothee Chalamet as Paul Atreides in Dune Part 2. You know, they're posting a fan cam of him or whatever. The top comment is when he was actually hot. So, half a year, 6 months ago? Obviously, the filming took place before that, but this is so ridiculous. No way that's the same person. If Kylie never came into the picture, he would still look this good. Also, I would like to point out that even if there was some sort of issue here and Timothee Chalamet did look completely different and substance use was to blame, that would in no way justify the way people are talking about him here. It's almost like they're happy. They seem to be happy that he looks bad now, question mark, because now it justifies their dislike. Or it's like this weird form of delusion where they have to convince themselves that he's now just ugly and horrible. That way they can feel good not liking him anymore because he's in a relationship. Why do these stories always have so many extra steps? Liquid rhinoplasty, chin augmentation, likely both surgical or both filler, cheek filler migration, masseter Botox, left surgery is so sneaky. Looks like he had a brow lift. Again, let's say he did literally all of those things. How would that justify sitting around calling him ugly, saying Kylie ruined his life and his career is over, etc.? For me, there's like a really weird undercurrent here, because when Timothee Chalamet first popped off, my first thought was, wow, he looks very young. At one point, he was mostly known for playing teenagers and looking like one too. And so I just can't help but find it weird that now that he's 28 and he actually looks 28, in my opinion, this is when this specific group of people is ragging on him. He's pushing 30, but got the body of a 17-year-old. This kind of restricts the roles he'll be getting. That feels like a self-report to me. Do you follow Timothy because you think he has the body of a 17-year-old and at one point he kind of had the face of one too? Never mind, Kylie can have him. He looks thinner yet somehow has a fuller face. Lost collagen but gained alcohol bloat. He's 30. He's turning 30. I don't know what to tell ya. Your face changes as you move through your 20s. There's such an extreme difference between being 21 and almost 30. It's just weird because I can't tell if the people posting this are like younger than Timothee Chalamet and they don't realize this. But no, the way a lot of them are talking, it just makes me feel like they're older than him. They do know this and they feel like he's just lost value because he no longer looks like baby, basically. Timothy has completely lost his spark. He used to be so bright-eyed and joyful and energetic. That's a lot of synonyms for young. I feel like the fans are witnessing Timmy plummet from peaking in real time. It's a living tragedy. I could sit here all day because the sub just goes on endlessly and this is just one of many subreddits like this and there's Instagram pages and Twitters, etc. But my point is, you were never going to convince me that this looks rough. The whole theme of this video is not to be parasocial, so I can't actually say that Timothy's doing a-okay and fine and dandy because again, I don't know him. But similarly, how would you use this photo to prove that his life has been ruined by Kylie Jenner? It's the most elaborate self-delusion I've seen in a long time. I just wanted to point out how bizarre this is and the fact that it's still happening. I don't know what these people want or what they think is going to happen, but they need to seriously reevaluate the way they're consuming this fan content. And again, I really shouldn't even have to point out that this is not all of Timothee Chalamet's fans, but when you've got subreddits full of thousands of people like this and like a bunch of splinter groups spread out across multiple social platforms, I feel like it's enough to call it out. But that's my take on the situation. Dave's take on the situation is maybe Timothy should have tried not aging. After all, it's been 500 years and Dave still looks the exact same. And I'm of course excited to hear your take. I mean, this is the part of the video where Elaine would ask you to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment. But I will ask you to enroll, evaluate the video, and submit your feedback. Because I am of course running a 100% completely, totally, all the way, okay, maybe somewhat not really, unaccredited university. Probably. Just ask anybody in the student body and they'll confirm it for you. We're totally legit. And as for me, whether you'll see me in 24 hours or 24 months is honestly anyone's guess, but until then, thanks for watching. Your homework for today is to talk to someone who you have an actual relationship with. Friends, dogs, babies, anyone applies.